بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نبدأ الآن في module 2 and this module talks about the scientific notations. أولاً, what is meant by scientific notation? A scientific notation is basically a method of expressing a very large or a very small number. It's composed of a mantissa. المنتسة هو عبارة عن coefficient، هو عبارة عن رقم. It's a number between 1 and 10. It cannot be smaller than 1 or greater than 10. And the power of base 10. الآن, this is an example on a scientific notation. This is called Avogadro's number and it's equivalent to 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. So as you can see, this is called the coefficient or the mantissa, and this is called the 10 to the power n exponent. طبعا this exponent can be positive or negative depending on the number we have. How can we convert any number to a scientific notation form? أولاً, we move the decimal point to create a coefficient between 1 and 10. طبعاً this depends on the number we have and we will see how we can do that in a moment. Then, we count the number of places the decimal has moved to determine the exponent. Now this exponent can be positive or negative depending on where we have moved the decimal point. يعني, if we move the decimal to the left, that means we will have a positive exponent. And if we move the decimal to the right, they will give us اللي هو negative exponent. طيب, الآن, for example, let's start with the first one. If we have this number 4,500, how can we write it down in the scientific notation form? أولاً, here we have اللي هو decimal. We move this decimal point to the left by 3 digits. طب, why do we move it to the left? To form the coefficient between 1 and 10. لازم يكون عند الرقم الأول between 1 and 10. So we move this decimal point to the left 1, 2, 3. إذن we have moved the decimal point to the left by 3 digits. طيب, الآن نكتب أول شيء عندنا الرقم الكوفيشنت اللي هو 4.5 times 10 to the power. الآن كم مرة أنا تحركت لليسار؟ تحركت 3 مرات. كونه تحركت لليسار to the left معناته راح يكون عندي الاكسبوننت positive. إذن 10 to the power 3. طيب, for example, if we have this number 0.0045, how can we write it down in the scientific notation form? Here, this decimal point has to be moved in order to form اللي هو coefficient between 1 and 10. إذن basically we have to move this decimal point to the right. 1, 2, 3. إذن we have moved this decimal point to the right by 3 digits. طيب, أولاً we write down the coefficient اللي هو 4.5 times, بما أنه الآن تحركت إلى اليمين, then the exponent will be negative. إذن we write down times 10 to the power. الآن كم مرة تحركت أنا اليمين؟ تحركت 3 خانات 3 digits, فبالتالي I write down 10 to the power negative 3. طبعاً موجود عندنا على اليمين في الأعلى اللي هو illustration بسيط. هذا illustration فعلياً هو بلخص لنا كل الكلام اللي شرحناه للآن. طيب, how can we convert from the scientific notation? How can we write down a number from a scientific notation? أولاً, we move the decimal point according to the exponent and that's it. If we have a positive exponent, that means we move the decimal to the right. And if we have a negative exponent, that means we move the decimal to the left. For example, let's start with the first one, this one. If we have 3.7 times 10 to the power 2, since this exponent is positive, then we move this decimal to the right by how many digits? By 2 digits. So basically we move it once, then twice. And this gives us what? This gives us 370. Right. What about the second one, this one? If we have 3.7 times 10 to the power negative 2, since the exponent is negative, that means we move the decimal point to the left by 2 digits. So this is 1 and this is 2. So basically now we have 0.037 and this number is equivalent to this number. Right. What about the mathematical operations with scientific notation? أولاً, let's see how we can add and subtract اللي هو scientific notations. أولاً, we convert to the same exponent and then we add or subtract the coefficients. What does that mean? Let's take the first example. If we have 5.7 times 10 to the power 4 plus 3.2 times 10 to the power 3, أولاً, we make the exponent the same. يعني this is 10 to the power 4, this is 10 to the power 3. They have to be the same. we either make this 10 to the power 3 or we make this 10 to the power 4. Let's make this 10 to the power 4 for example. طيب كيف بخلي الآن 10 to the power 4? We have to move this decimal point to the left by 1 digit. And if we do that, what will we have? This number remains as is, اللي هو عبارة عن 5.7 times 10 to the power 4 plus. Then we move this decimal point to the left by 1 digit. That means we have 0.32 times, since we have moved the decimal point to the left by 1 digit, then we add to the 3 1. So it becomes what? It becomes 10 to the power 4. Now what do? We add the coefficients with each other, اللي هو 0.32 plus 5.7. And this will give us what? 6.02. And this power, it will remain the same. So basically this is what? This is 5.7 plus 0.32 multiplied by the same power we have, which is 10 to the power 4. And this gives us 6.2 times 10 to the power 4. Another example, if we have subtraction, 5.7 times 10 to the power 4 minus 3.2 times 10 to the power 3. We follow the same steps. And instead of having 10 to the power 4, let's say we want to write it down as 10 to the power 3. This exponent, let's write it down in the base of 10 to the power 3. So it becomes what? أولاً, since we want to decrease the exponent, that means we move this decimal point to the right. So it becomes what? So it becomes 57 times 10 to the power 3. إذن, if the digits, if the decimal points move to the right, then we subtract اللي هو a number. يعني ممكن تكون 1, ممكن تكون 2, ممكن 3, depending on what? Depending on how many digits I have moved to the right. فإذا أنا بتحرك لليمين بطرح من الإكسبوننت، إذا بتحرك لليسار بزيد للإكسبوننت. بما أنه الآن عندي هاي الديجيت تحركت لليمين راح أطرح من الإكسبوننت. شو راح يصير عندي؟ طبعا راح يصير 57 times 10 to the power 3. الآن this remains the same اللي هو 3.2 times 10 to the power 3. And what do? We subtract اللي هو 57 minus 3.2. So this is 57 minus 3.2 multiplied by the same اللي هو الباور 10 to the power 3. This will give us what? This will give us 53.8, and here we will have 10 to the power 3. الآن احنا اتفقنا بأنه scientific notation form, this coefficient has to be between 1 and 10. So we move this decimal point to the left by 1 digit, and we add 1 to the 3. So it becomes 5.38 times 10 to the power 4. What about multiplication? In multiplication, we multiply the coefficients and we add the exponents. For example, if we have 4.2 times 10 to the power 5 multiplied by 3.2 times 10 to the power 3, أولاً, we multiply the coefficients اللي هم 4.2 times 3.2. Then this is times, and then we add the exponents. So we say 10 to the power, this is 5, and this is 3. So we add 5 to 3. So it becomes, أولاً, we multiply 4.2 times 3.2 عفواً. This gives us 13.44 times 10 to the power 5 plus 3, which is 10 to the power 8. طبعاً, again, we have to write it down in the scientific notation form, which is basically if we move this decimal point to the left by 1 digit to form the coefficient between 1 and 10, then we say this is equivalent to 1.344. Since the decimal point have been moved to the left by 1 digit, then we will add 1 to the 8 and it becomes 10 to the power 9. Finally, if we want to divide two scientific notations, in this case, we divide the coefficients and then we subtract the exponents. For example, if we have 4.2 times 10 to the power 5 divided by 3.2 times 10 to the power 3. أولاً, we divide the coefficients اللي هم 4.2 divided by 3.2 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 minus 3. So we write down here 10 to the power 5 minus 3. And this is equivalent to what? If we divide 4.2 by 3.2, this gives us 1.31 times 10 to the power 5 minus 3, which is 10 to the power 2. Let's take a few examples. Now, let's say we want to convert 123,000 to scientific notation. أولاً 123,000, if we want to write it down in the scientific notation form, we have to move the decimal point either to the left or to the right. In order to what? In order to form the coefficient or the mantissa. طبعاً وين عندنا موجود أصلاً decimal point؟ هي decimal point. In this case, we have to move it to the left in order to form the coefficient between 1 and 10. So we move it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and finally 5 times. So we have moved to the left 5 digits, and then we write down 1.23 times 10 to the power 5. Again, if we move to the left, then the exponent will be positive. Right. What about converting 0.00056 to scientific notation form? And again, we have to form the coefficient. The decimal point is here, we have to move it to the right. And by how many digits we have to move it? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4 digits. And then here we will write down 10 to the power 4, like in here the exponent will be negative. Why? Because we have moved to the left. Then we write down 5.6 times 10 to the power negative 4. Another example. Let's multiply 2 times 10 to the power 2 by 4 times 10 to the power 4. In this case, we multiply the coefficients اللي هم 2 times 4, that gives us 8 اللي هو فعليا 4 times 2. Then we multiplied by 10 to the power 2 plus 4. Then we write down 10 to the power 2 plus 4, which gives us اللي هو 8 times 10 to the power 6. And this is equivalent to what? This is equivalent to 8 with 6 zeros on the right. هو عبارة عن 8 millions. Finally, let's see how we can divide 9 times 10 to the power 3 by 3 times 10 to the power 5. Again, the same thing we do. We divide the coefficients, and then we divide 9 by 3, and then we multiply by 10 to the power. Here we have 3, and here we have 5. So we say 10 to the power 3 minus 5. طبعا احنا بنعرف انه 9 divided by 3 will give us 3 multiplied by 10 to the power 3 minus 5 is equivalent to 10 to the power negative 2. طبعا we can write it down in the اللي هو number form. Just move the decimal point to the left by 2 digits. شو راح تصير عندنا؟ 0.03. Another examples. Let's see how we can add, for example, 3 times 10 to the power 4 and 2 times 10 to the power 2. In this case, we say أولا the exponent has to be the same. طبعا here we have 10 to the power 2 and 10 to the power 4. We either make both 10 to the power 2 or we make both 10 to the power 4. Let's say perhaps we make both 10 to the power 2. بنخلي الكلاهما ايش؟ 10 to the power 2. حتى نخلي هاي 10 to the power 2 لازم نحرك الديسيمال بوينت لليمين خانتين 2 digits. فبالتالي it becomes 300 times 10 to the power 2. Plus, here we have 2 times 10 to the power 2. We write it as is. Then we add the coefficients with each other, which is basically 300 plus 2 multiplied by, طبعا راح يضل عندنا اللي هو exponent as is اللي هو 10 to the power 2. So the answer is 302 times 10 to the power 2. In order to write it down in the correct scientific notation form, we have to move this decimal point to the left by 2 digits in order to have a coefficient between 1 and 10. So it becomes 3.02. بما انه حركنا الديسيمال لليسار خانتين 2 digits، فبالتالي we add 2 to the exponent. ليش؟ تحركت لليسار فبالتالي بنضيف 2. فراح يصير عندي الجواب 3.02 times 10 to the power 4. And finally, let's assume that we want to subtract 2 times 10 to the power 2 from 3 times 10 to the power 4. In this case, أولاً we subtract the coefficients after we make the exponent to be the same. إذا بنلاحظ الآن هاي 10 to the power 4, this is 10 to the power 2. Again, we do the same exact thing. This is 300 times 10 to the power 2 minus 2 times 10 to the power 2. إذا أول شيء بنخلي الإكسبوننت نفسه. بعد ذلك we subtract the coefficients يعني 300 minus 2 multiplied by the same exponent اللي هو 10 to the power 2. شو بيطلع عندي الجواب؟ 298 times 10 to the power 2. Again, in order to write it down in the correct scientific notation form, we move this decimal to the left by 2 digits, and moving this decimal point by 2 digits عفوا, we form اللي هو 2.98 اللي هو عبارة عن رقم أو coefficient between 1 and 10. This is correct. And since we have moved to the left by 2 digits, then we add 2 to this 2. So it becomes 10 to the power 4. And this is the end of this example. Finally, let's take a few other examples. Let's say we want to multiply 3 times 10 to the power 4 by 2 times 10 to the power 2. And to do that, أولاً we multiply the coefficients, اللي هم 3 times 2, and then we add the exponents to each other. Then we multiply by 10 to the power 4 plus 2. This is equivalent to what? To 6 times 10 to the power 6, اللي هو عبارة عن 6 millions. And finally, divide 2 times 10 to the power 2 by 3 times 10 to the power 4. أولاً we divide the coefficients by each other. Then we multiply by 10 to the power this exponent minus this exponent اللي هو 2 minus 4. So we write down 10 to the power 2 minus 4. أولاً 2 divided by 3, this is equal to 0.67 times. الآن في عندنا 10 to the power 2 minus 4 اللي هو negative 2. الآن this is it's not written in the correct scientific notation form. ليش؟ لأنه هذا الرقم لازم يكون between ال 1 and 10. So we move this decimal point to the right in order to form what? 6.7. لأنه 6.67 هو عبارة عن إيش؟ رقم between اللي هما عفوا الواحد والعشرة. فبالتالي in this case it becomes 6.67 times 10 to the power negative 3. طبعا ليش صارت عندنا negative 3؟ بما أنه تحركت عندنا decimal لليمين خانة واحدة، فبالتالي we subtract 1 from the exponent. لما تتحرك عند الخانة لليمين نطرح واحد من الاكسبوننت. طب إذا تحركت عند اللي هو الديسيمال بوينت لليسار بنزيد واحد للاكسبوننت. طبعا in this case negative 2 minus 1 will give us negative 3. You may question why here we have 6.66 عفوا 6.67 and here we have 0.67 لأنه هو بالأصل أصلا هاي 0.66667. So I wrote it down as 0.67. الآن if we want to convert it in this form طبعا we can write it down either 0.7 or 0.67 and so on, which is basically the same. And this is the end of this module.